Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Thank you to my colleagues for coming as well, and thank you for our co-hosts. I think my niece went a little overboard on the introduction, but that's all right. So greetings, everyone. Shalom, sak passe. We're from Brooklyn, so what's good? My name is Jumaane Williams, and I'm very proud to be the council member of the 45th District in Brooklyn. I want to welcome everyone to my first ever State of the District event here at Midwood High School. Please, let's give them another round of applause for hosting this. I know we've been joined by a number of dignitaries, and everybody been recognized. I want to say thank you as well. All of us are here today for the same reason. Apparently, everybody loves long speeches. Maybe some of you guys came to hear me sing. I can't sing like Marlon, but sometimes I give it a shot. So, I'm thinking about forever. Do you not think so far ahead? Not too bad. Is there anybody from the mayor's office? No? I thought some people may have come to heckle a little bit, but that's all right. The real reason we're here is we want to see neighborhoods of East Flatbush, Flatlands, Midwood, and Canarsie reach their full promise. We want our children to have a quality education and to aspire to great heights. We want our streets to be safer through a partnership with our local police. We want our local businesses to thrive and for long-term residents to benefit from their success. That, in short, is why we're here. So how did we get here? If we want to be literal about it, some of us drove up Bedford Avenue, others hopped off B6 or the B11, and many might have come to the junction via bus or subway, and many may have walked. Looking further back, our journeys here are assorted and unique. Members of this audience hail from all walks of life, from the homes of Victorian Flatbush to apartments of Glenwood houses. We are one of the most diverse districts in New York City. Just listen to the sounds of our little Caribbean storefronts and the davening on Shabbos in Midwood. The 45th District is mothers and fathers, youth and seniors, liberal and conservative, gay and straight, upper class and working class. They are all shape the richness of the district and the boundless potential it holds. The last time I gathered here with you in this auditorium was January 2010, when I was affirmed into office as a member of the City Council. I got there because your voice made my campaign strong. Today, your voice is still strong. You are the reason why I can report today that the state of the 45th is strong. While we still have a lot to do, in the next year, I know we'll only get stronger. The capacity for great things has always been within us. The challenge we faced, which I have worked to address over the past 3 years, is cultivating leaders and organizations within the district that are ready to lead. In case I do something wrong, and you guys are ready to kick me out. Too many of the nonprofits that serve this community are not based within this community. I'm very happy to have them. I hope we continue a great relationship. But local groups know local needs the best and are able to champion and prioritize these causes. That is why in November, my office held a series of community nonprofit technical workshops at Brooklyn College to assist groups like block associations, civic associations, and tenant associations with applying for city council funding, identifying alternative sources of assistance, and building organizational capacity. The interest in these meetings was so great that I'm proud to hold an additional training for community-based organizations looking to apply for discretionary funds from my fiscal year 2014 funds. For those who are interested, we hope to see you this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. at St. Augustine's Episcopal Church, which is 4301 Avenue D. Hope we see you there. 6:30 p.m. It's cool, this is a conversation. As a former nonprofit director, I know these resources are the lifeblood of community work. And I will always fight to secure the greatest share for the 45th District. We have to make sure that member item funds are not cut. It's the lifeblood of our nonprofits. There is no system that is perfect, but this system gets the money to who we need it to. We allow them to take it from the federal government, we allow them to take it from the state government, and they put it all in one person's hand. Don't let them do that to the city council. Furthermore, we need to fight, as I said, to continue to fight for member items. It is time to stop villainizing our community-based organizations. Since I ran for this office 4 years ago, I have believed that the relationship between government, community-based organizations, and the people they serve needs to fundamentally change. We should not accept one person out of work, one family in danger of foreclosure, or one shooting on our block. So when we see an epidemic of issues facing our friends and neighbors, it is time to accept that the system must change. We must be smarter about the way we deliver services to people. I have worked with nonprofits from every community board in this district. I also worked with some outside. And when I worked for one such organization in Bedford-Stuyvesant, I encountered a book called "Trying Hard is Not Good Enough." That phrase has always stuck with me. Smarter, not harder, is how best we'll reach our constituents in greatest need. That is why I've championed a district-wide discussion on results-based accountability, or RBA. Beginning in March of 2010, my office began holding meetings with community-based organizations that wanted to apply for funding and city agencies to ensure we're using best practices to achieve and improve our quality of life. 3 years later, we haven't quite reached where we want to go, but we're moving forward and we're making progress in increasing accountability and seeing a greater return for your tax dollars. Government also needs to change from within. I'm proud to be a founding member of the Progressive Caucus, a group of council members from across the city that stand for reform on behalf of working families. We have championed middle class causes from living wage to paid sick leave, progressive values, the values of this district, or what guide my policy making inside City Hall. Last October, I was proud to be the lead sponsor of Resolution 1540, which had the effect of law. It requires current and future council speakers to establish a policy that ensures the integrity and transparency of the discretionary funding process. Codifying this rule, which I thank Speaker Quinn for a partnership on achieving, was a key step, but we must go further to expand equity, transparency, and fairness. That is why I'm proud that just Wednesday I joined my colleague from the outer borough of Manhattan, Councilmember Dan Garodny, to urge every mayoral candidate to commit to a series of charter amendments that would finally fix our broken budget process to the benefits of all hard-working New Yorkers. Above any reform, I believe in the empowerment of the people's voice, which is why I brought participatory budgeting to the 45th District. And last March, the people got to decide how to spend their own tax dollars. Over 1,100 ballots were cast in community spaces around our community. To put that in perspective, I was elected with just over 3,000. Along with 3 other districts, this was the first such election in New York City's history and the second in the country. A revolution in government so powerful that this year, 4 more council members have come aboard. Residents are getting engaged in the future of the neighborhood and designing projects that will benefit generations to come. We are developing new leaders like this year's district committee chairs, Joan Bakudin and George Tate. Could you please stand? I would also like to recognize the 2 men who started off on this journey, not sure if they're here, but Morgan Gabriel and Pastor Charles Galbraith were the 2 inaugural chairs for the participatory budgeting projects. If you're here, please stand. We'll explore the impact of the winning projects, as well as the other current and future efforts of my office. With the aid of a presentation, my office is prepared for this address. The community is still reeling from the tragic loss of one of our own. Just a block away from the school, on February 9th, 8-year-old Ashton Charles lost his life in a house fire that also destroyed his family's home. I ask that everyone observe a moment of silence in Ashton's continuing memory. Thank you. Constituents, the objective of my office, the result that my office wants to see is all young people have a safe place to learn and grow. That means everything I do, all the funding, all the programs, looks through that lens of how we make this district a safe place for young people to learn and grow. That starts with constituent service, which is the primary reason that people elected me to begin with. It is the heart of our office. You can notice that immigration occupies a low percentage, just 1.6% of this chart. but that only represents the portion of cases that are not taken on by our free legal services that we provide every single month since 2010. If we added those cases to our office work, the total immigration assistance would jump to 20.6 of overall constituent service, just behind housing. Some of our key housing issues we see are people seeking affordable apartments and others fighting evictions and foreclosures. It underscores the affordable housing crisis that permeates every part of this community, every part of this district, and every part of this country. The work represented on this chart is thanks to the efforts of the great lawyers at CUNY Citizenship Now, who, as I have said, have provided free legal assistance since 2010, every Monday at my office. As you can see, naturalization is a big service we have assisted with at the office. It's very important to me because many of us who come from other places come here with the assumption we're going to go back home. My mother, who's here, has been going back home for 30 years, from going back home for 5 years for the past 30. Can somebody point my mother out? She just pretends. Hold on. I got it quicker. But she's been going back home for 5 years for about 30 years now. So I'm hoping that, like her and the people who have naturalized here, will continue on the path of citizenship, be able to vote, and be able to be as active as you can in your community. The budget. It's probably the most important thing that I do as a council member. We passed a $70 billion budget. That's the fourth largest budget in this country. After the United States budget, after the California budget, and the New York State budget, we have the New York City budget. Could be a country of its own, $70 billion. It is a thing I believe is the most important, but it's a thing that people understand the least. What you see there is the funding, most of the funding that I've been able to bring in for the past 4 years. Doesn't include, past 3 years, doesn't include this budget cycle. It includes the aging of about $108,000 every year, youth expenses of about $151,000 every year, probably about another $200,000 in local funds to get to that $1.4 million, and to get to the $14 million capital funds, just about $5 million a year. So this is not bad for a loudmouth freshman councilman. But I do want to make sure that my constituents don't get psyched out. While it's great, and I hope I can continue to bring more, this is not the most important part. Anyone that you elect will be able to bring some funds back to the community. This is better than some, less than a lot. But what should be held in a higher regard is the impact that this funding is going to have on the constituency and on the district. Is the money going to people to return favors or to have the most impact that we can on this community? And I tried my best to make sure whatever money we get is finely tuned and honed and focused. This is why I have RBA, this is why I have participatory budgeting, to make sure we have the biggest impact. If we get $1, if we get $100,000, the impact in the community needs to be strong. I got my start in housing advocacy from my community organizing work at Flatbush Community Development Corporation to the housing director of Flatbush Development Corporation, and Robin Redmond is here, who's the executive director. To my tenure as executive director of the New York State Tenants and Neighbors, a statewide affordable housing center for tenant power in the state. So I know I'm highly tuned to what's needed in terms of affordable housing. So I'm happy that I was able to allocate $250,000 towards construction of Crystal Towers affordable housing project. If it's built, it'll bring 90 units of housing on Rogers between Farragut and Forster. We hosted many forums and had many office hours to assist also small landlords and property owners so they can provide a better base of housing. I partnered with Black Association and Civic Association to provide outreach and support to homeowners. Our community has a great set of hyper-local leaders who time and again answer the call and engage their neighbors. We have leaders like Steve Yamin from the New Amherst Civic Association, who arranges monthly meetings and organizes concerts for youth and outreach for seniors. Steve, can you please stand? I know some have already been mentioned. But I'd like any president of a block, a civic, or tenant association to also please stand. I'm happy that we were able to direct thousands of dollars in discretionary funds to local food pantries, like Maspia. We need to continue to assist those who lack homes as well. Where we're going with housing. I believe I have an important role to play in this effort by being a member of the Housing and Buildings Committee. One of the things that I think is most important is to repeal the Erstat law. For those who don't know what that is, it was a law that was put in place in 1971. It prevents us from doing the things in the city council that we really want to do to help people have more affordable housing. It gives what's called home rule. It takes it from the city and gives it to the state. What we did was fight for home rule on education, and we got that back to the city. We need to do the same thing for housing. That would be the fundamental thing that would help us deal with this affordable housing crisis, and I'll continue to fight for that appeal. When it comes to things like Foster Avenue Hotel, for those who don't know, they wanted to build a cheap, hot chic motel on Foster Avenue, and told us that for some reason people would be coming from Kennedy Airport and stopping in Flatbush, on Foster Avenue in Utica, to spend their time in New York City. I want to thank Roy McKenzie, who I don't think is here, the president of the East 59th Street Block Association, for helping lead the charge to prevent that hotel from being built. And in a classic case of how local things lead to legislation, I'm going to continue to drive to pass Intro 861, which is legislation I introduced. One of the problems with that hotel is we didn't know about it because by law, they didn't have to come to the community board. So we found out about it before too late. This law would require that developers planning to build a hotel would have to come to community boards. I expect to please. As I mentioned, we have great housing from Victorian Flatbush to Glenwood Housing. Glenwood Housing is a great neighborhood to live in. It also has a great organizer in Carolyn Walton. Their resident leader is Carolyn here. Carolyn, please. Wait. Hold on, where's my clip? I'm going to use my clip. If I can find it. Yes, Carolyn. Carolyn's going to be recognized as a Woman of the Year by District Attorney Charles Hines in March as well. I started, as I said, my housing career as a community organizer at Flatbush East Community Development Corporation, organizing then Vanderveer estates, trying to get them to have better housing conditions. Unfortunately, that long fight still continues for good housing conditions. Flatbush Gardens has thousands of tenants that deserve quality, safe apartments, and they have been led by leaders such as Marietta Smalls, their tenant association president. Marietta, could you please stand? Seniors, we definitely cannot build a safe place to learn and grow for young people without protecting the population whose shoulders we stand on. None of us would be able to be here if it weren't for the work of our seniors that came before us. So I'm happy that I'm able to fund a little over $108,000 yearly in assistance for enrichment programs. We have fantastic senior centers in this district, including Fort Greene Senior Action Center at Clarendon Road Church, St. Augustus Episcopal Church, Philip Howard Senior Center, Midwood Senior Center, and Glenwood Senior Center. Any seniors in the house, give a little shout. We've also hosted hundreds of seniors at events such as Pre-Labor Day Senior Concert in Hammersburg Park and Holiday Party at Tropical Paradise. We also had a very great, loving Valentine's Day with all our seniors. We brought them all chocolates. And in an intergenerational combination, we had our primary school students make wonderful Valentine's Day card for every senior who were in those senior houses. We also organized, I think this was their favorite, a free trip to the New York Mets game. Where we're going. We want to establish a naturally occurring retirement community, or NORC, for Philip Howard Apartments. It'll help provide supportive service programs aimed at maximizing and supporting the successful aging in place of all the residents. In short, more targeted resources for seniors who need and deserve them. I believe Philip Howard is a great, great example of what a NORC can do. We're hoping to get that federal program. We want to continue advocacy for increased senior funding, but every year they do the fake out. They cut the funding so that we have to put it back, when we should have been doing was fighting for more funding to begin with. Hopefully, if we can get some of the reforms in place, we won't have to play that game anymore. And of course, we continue to support an outreach for senior citizen rent increase exemption. Health issues in the community are important. Unfortunately, this district has some of the highest rates of diabetes, asthma, hypertension, also HIV. To help combat them, we hosted health fairs at Flatbush Gardens, Flatbush YMCA, and the Tilden Educational Campus. I've been a proud partner with East Flatbush Village on a yearly dance-a-thon and healthy living fair that engages the youth of our community. We co-sponsor community screenings for breast cancer and brain tumors. We advocated for the federal passage of the Affordable Care Act, which has passed. You may know it as Obamacare. Where we're going. We continue to drive to pass legislation declaring gun violence as a public health crisis, as my colleague talked about earlier. It is a public health crisis in the city, in this country. Until we treat it as such, we're not going to move where we want to move. Continuing advocacy for the passage of paid sick leave. I'm proud to announce that paid sick leave has a hearing next month. It is a moral imperative of this city. I can't wait for the hearing. I can't wait to vote for it. We need to push to increase access to healthy food options within the community. This is one place I think the mayor has done a great job in making sure that healthy foods are in places that they've never been before. We want to continue collaboration with state officials to save SUNY Downstate Medical Center. SUNY Downstate is essential to this community. It's a quality research center. It provides a job hub and necessary emergency care institution. We got to make sure that Downstate stays open. We have to make sure that Kings County is fully funded so that we can provide the best care that is deserved for this community. The arts. So my first love is acting, actually. I went to school to be an actor. Somehow, I came out trying to be an elected official. I like to say it's the same game, different stage. The arts should not be treated as an ancillary subject. It is fundamental to our young people's education, and it should be treated so in our school system. For some reason, that's the first thing they go to. It needs to be one of the law. I'm happy that we were able to allocate $350,000 for the renovation of Rugby Library facilities. We screened free movies and documentaries in the community. We funded $100,000 a year in arts education through Cultural After-School Adventures Initiative, also known as CASA. That money is not reflected in the slide you saw on the budget, which would add maybe another $300,000. There are these things called initiatives that unless you come to the workshops, you would not know about, like domestic violence initiatives, like the food pantries. All of those initiatives are additional money to the funding we saw on the first slide. Tomorrow, I'll get to show our community's appreciation for Spike Lee at a reception at Brooklyn College. Some of my most fun times have been presenting proclamations to people I grew up with, like Tim Reed, Salt and Pepper, Public Enemy, Marshall Montana, and Dougie Fresh, who I beatboxed with at Barclays Stadium. We're going to continue planning for our community murals project, which we know have a positive effect on the community, helping increase the peace messages, and even more importantly, help decrease vandalism in the areas. We want to expand the film festival in and around Flatbush Junction. We had a wonderful one earlier this year down Flatbush near the Flatbush Dutch Reformed Church. We want to continue participation in the cultural celebrations, such as the West Indian American Day Parade and Carnival. For years, I proudly embraced the Carnival, and as you know, a couple of years back, it was a very weird embracing of me. And we know that that won't continue. We want to make sure that the utilities for trailers that we've secured come to the residents during Rugby Library construction. For those who don't know, at first, during the construction, which would be a few years, they were going to provide bookmobiles at that location. And myself, my colleagues, and I want to give Sharif Frazier, who's not able to be here, from Community Board 17, fought and pushed back and said our community deserves more than bookmobiles, because most of the people who go to libraries now are not just for books. They need technology. They need to get online. They need computers. So I'm proud that the Brooklyn Public Library has agreed to put permanent trailers at that location for the full extent of the construction, which will start at the end of the summer. Economic development absolutely is one of the lifeblood veins through the community. Economic development spurs everything. To that end, I was happy to co-release a report detailing MWBE failures set by Local Law 129. For those who don't know, MWBE is Minority and Women's Businesses. Several of our recommendations are presented in Intro 911, which was enacted last month, if I'm not mistaken, through the committee chaired by Dawn Ely, Contracts Committee. Thank her for so much work. It's a step in the right direction, but we have much further to go. We helped pass legislation to create a living wage and call for minimum wage raises. We hosted forums at Flatbush Nostrand Avenue, Utica Avenue, Church Avenue, Avenue Business Corridors. We're fortunate to have great leaders in our local business communities who help drive the economic engine. Dare I say, actually rambunctious community leaders within the community. Like Terry LaPierre on Avenue D Merchant Association, who I assist with sponsoring holiday lights every winter. And young leaders like Michelle McClellan of the Flatbush Notion Junction Business Improvement District, who's overseeing what will be the next great economic engine in Brooklyn. Michelle, you stand? Okay. Don't make me get my clicker out. I want to thank them. And more importantly, I think we're at the burgeoning of a great economic boom. I want to make sure that the residents and the business owners who were here during the tough times are the same ones that benefit during the boom time. I was also proud that my committee, Oversight Investigation, co-chaired the hearing on the grading of restaurants, which we found was primarily to gain revenue in the city of New York, not for health issues. We need to treat our small business owners better. That's not what's happening now, and I hope with the new administration that will change. Thank you, sir. Now put on YouTube, man. I know what you did. Where we're going. Hoping to form a Utica Avenue Business Improvement District, hoping to reestablish the Notion Avenue Merchants Association that was once burgeoning. We would like to create a farmers market in East Flatbush. And I would love to see the branding of major parts of East Flatbush. I want when people hear East Flatbush, the first thing they think of is I'm going to Little Caribbean. The district is primed for economic growth, as I mentioned. And we'll see the seeds of change sprouting in the coming months. Rapid bus transit, RBT, is coming to the B44. We believe it will breathe new life into Notion Avenue businesses and ease traffic. Additionally, with the partnership of Seth Pinsky and the New York City Economic Development Corporation. Although I know people are getting frustrated at the junction now, there's a lot of good things happening. Construction is broken ground on the streetscape project that will transform the junction and bring increased foot traffic to stores. Environment. I was also proud to co-chair the citywide hearings on city preparedness and in response to the 2010 blizzard that you may remember. Chairing the blizzards allowed me to address how best to implement a plan of action and communicate effectively with city agencies, multiple city agencies in fact. Sadly, this experience was needed to be learned for, not 2 years later during Hurricane Sandy. I authored a law to improve 311 services in emergencies, and thanks to Local Law 29, which was enacted on May 7th of 2011. 311 call takers must now provide New Yorkers with unique tracking numbers that allows them and other elected officials to hold city agencies responsible for addressing their issues. This is during a great sunny day or during an extreme emergency, and I hope and believe that this helped us during Hurricane Sandy. And I want to give appreciation, although he's not here, to Isaac Newman and Metro Star, a local business that stepped up and defined corporate stewardship during the aftermath of Sandy. Where we're going. There should be no doubt and no question. Climate change is fueling destructive storms over New York City. If Congress fails to act and stay on arguing whether climate change is real or not, they're doing us a disservice and they're putting us in danger. We must continue to raise our voices loud on this issue. I would like to help create a Community Board 17 CERT team that is the most local emergency response We have a great board in Community Board 17, but they're the last of the 4 community boards I represent to have a CERT team. I want to drive to pass H.R. 966, legislation to improve the cleanup and maintenance of catch basins. This is in response to many flooding areas I've seen in the community. We don't know when they've been cleaned, when they're going to be cleaned again. This law would make the city have to respond to us with a report annually telling us when those catch basins have been cleaned, when they're going to be cleaned again. We want to advocate for better interagency coordination in weather emergencies and support creation of more community gardens. The natural disasters we have had to contend with in New York City over the last 2 years are sadly nothing compared to the devastation Haiti suffered following the earthquake that took place just days after I was affirmed into office. What I wanted to do was do whatever we can to mitigate the destruction that was felt in Haiti from coming over to the Haitians that live in my district in Brooklyn and in the city. To do that, I formed the 45th District Haitian Relief Effort immediately following the earthquake to take information around to primarily Haitian churches. I also was proud to serve on Governor Patterson's committee to oversee the information hub based in the Bedford Armory in the days following the earthquake. That committee was chaired by my colleague Matthew Eugene. We also assisted with applying for Haitian TPS and organized a citywide push for federal extension, and I'm proud that in several locations it has been extended. I'm glad to have partners in the Haitian community like Jackson Rockingster, the president of Habitat, and my co-founder of the 45th District Haitian Relief Effort. And Marilyn Pierre, I'm not sure if she's here, the director of the Haitian Family Resource Center, which has hosted so much of my immigration outreach. Is Marilyn here? We also passed a resolution calling on DOE to fulfill the promises made to immigrant teachers from the Caribbean. The DOE went to many places around the world, particularly in the Caribbean, took the best and the brightest of the teachers, promising that if they uprooted their families and came here, they would provide citizenship. What we learned is that DOE doesn't have the power to provide citizenship. So they're not doing everything they can to fulfill their promises. And many of those young people that came due to a promise, who came with the parents as they taught, are now aging out of their ability to be able to file for citizenship. There was one person who the parent died, and now the child is in limbo. The DOE needs to be held accountable and fulfill their promises. Where we're going. I also have a key voice in this fight as a member of the Immigration Committee, and I tend to use it. Coming from an immigrant family from the small island of Grenada, see Grenada in the house? All right. We want to also advocate against local implementation of the Secure Communities Program, support for legislation limiting the use of detainers by ICE agents in New York City. Thankfully, the vote on that this Tuesday. Those two things, secure community and the ICE detainers, which if you get stopped for any reason, can send you back to your home, in combination with stop, question, and frisk, is a dangerous thing for our community. I want to continue to push for comprehensive immigration reform and passage of the DREAM Act, and continue funding our free legal services. Education. First of all, I need to use my clicker real quick. This is me. This is Stephen Ringo here. Unfortunately, we lost that game. Education, of course, is the cornerstone. I believe many of the problems discussed can be fixed with a better educational system. I've allocated hundreds of thousands towards school construction and technology. We've authored a resolution to deny Kathy Black, remember her, a waiver to be Chancellor of the Department of Education. My office has created youth groups like Students Taking Action Today, or STAT. Is STAT in the house? Any STAT people? Yes, we've advocated fiercely for the protection of beacons, SYP, and other youth program funding. The community has also assisted when organizing book donations for school libraries and back-to-school drives to assist local students in need of supplies. Where we're going. I am a public school baby, proud of it, educated in the Brooklyn Public School. from my preschool to masters. I wouldn't be here where I am today without the public education system. It is a jewel. It's a jewel that needs to be polished. I will always believe that public schools are the solution, not the problem. So I want to continue to call for the replacement of mayoral control with municipal control, a model that I believe will promote greater accountability. I believe the mayor had it right when asking for home rule for education. He had it wrong when it was put in one person's hand. You need to have transparency, and I believe the municipal model will provide balance for the city council and the mayor to provide ideas for the better education of our young people. I want to continue to fight against the co-location that's currently occurring at Tilden Educational Campus. I want to shout out the principals of Tilden Educational Campus, I don't know if they're here, who have done a great job with their schools and are leading the charge against the unfair co-location. Tilden Educational Campus was closed a few years back. They had, I think, about a 20–30% graduation rate. Those three principals now boast 88 to 90% graduation rate. Some of the best schools in the city. And instead of the mayor saying, I got one thing right, he is now trying to put an elementary school without talking to anybody in the community or any of the principals in that school building. We have to do what we can to stop. I will continue. That's a nice picture. We'll continue to support greater funding for Brooklyn College. I have a key voice in this fight as well as a member of the Higher Education Committee, and I intend to use it. Leading the charge to make this district safe is our police precincts and their captains, with whom I have a great relationship regardless of what you see in the news. I want to thank the 63rd and Captain Royal, the 67th, and Inspector Lura, the 69th, and Deputy Inspector Fitzgibbon, as well as the 70th and Inspector Rodriguez for their great partnership. We've also mobilized residents and pedestrians about crime in our area, just most recently about the rape that occurred in Brooklyn College. My office helped to form the Community Board 17's Community Observation Patrol. Our Community Observation Patrol, or COP, has been an important partnership between Community Board 17 and the Flatbush Shaman, a model collaboration for the rest of our district. These are volunteers who learn from other volunteers the importance of taking ownership of protecting our community. I'd like to recognize the efforts of Hassan Bakruddin and Terrence Joseph and the generous contribution of Chaim Deutsch in making our community safer and empowering. I think Hassan is here, I don't know if Terrence is. No, I'll get my trick out. Oh, okay, you know, get my trick. We'll continue to advocate against cuts to firehouse funding. We were proud to fund security cameras and park lighting through participatory budgeting elections. Public safety. Where we're going with public safety. I'm going to continue to advocate for the end of the abusive, misuse, and overuse of the failed policy of stop, question, and frisk. There is no causation between stops and making our community safer. This year, murder has gone down, shootings have gone down, but for some reason, the city has not announced that the stops have also gone down. That is because that defeats what they've been saying. There is no causation between these two things. What they try to do is show a correlation. Unfortunately, you can also show a correlation of the price of M&Ms that have gone up from 10 years ago in the shootings. It just means nothing. There's absolutely no causation. There has been great police work that has helped, including the impact zones, which I want to continue, including the good work they've done on localized crime units that I want to continue. I also want to increase the police force. I think an increased police presence makes lazy policing go down, which I believe is one of the things that Stop, Question, Frisk is doing. But we want safer streets and better policing at the same time. I think our communities deserve it, and it's intelligent to have enough to have that conversation at the same time. So I'm going to continue to drive to pass the Landmark Community Safeties Act, which I believe is a pro-NYPD bill and will provide better accountability. We want to support greater uses of the police policies that I described, in addition to community policing, focused deterrence. I was proud that Speaker Quinn tapped myself to co-chair the city's Council's Task Force to Combat Gun Violence, along with my colleague, Councilmember Fernando Cabrera. The task force spent a year with people who are doing this work in the trenches to find best practices to help lower gun violence. There was only one initiative that was funded last year, new initiative that was funded in last year's budget, and that was for 5 pilot programs that came out of the Task Force to Combat Gun Violence. Very proud of that. We have 1 in each borough. Thankfully, that 1 is not in this district. We choose the precinct that had the highest shootings in each borough. We help create the Anti-Gun Violence Initiative. We host yearly Not in My Hood marches where we march young people not just through the community, but to a resource fair to get the services that they need. Unfortunately, we've had to hold vigils to mourn those lost. We've also held life-affirming things like Occupy Our Corners with the Reverend Sharp and other events to take back our streets, where we go out 11, 12, 1 a.m. to speak to the young people that we believe need to be reached the most. Unfortunately, as I said, we've held vigils like that for 27-year-old Nicholas Telmack, 15-year-old Daquan Curious, to name just 2, gunned down within days of each other in July 2011. We took back our corners with the help of young leaders like Shandu Triton Fowler, an inspiring young man who was a leader, an OG, original gangster in the Bloods gang, who created Gangsters Making Astronomical Community Changes. He has taken positive strides from his past and is now part of this district's bright future. We are the 51st in terms of available park space. We need this community center. As a co-chair of the Task Force to Combat Gun Violence, I know that our young people need positive outlets to turn them away from poor life choices. This is the blueprint. This is how we move forward and move this community forward. I hope you'll join me in making this center a reality. So, did everyone enjoy the PowerPoint? No, for real, you enjoyed it? I put every slide together. Actually, my staff and my interns deserve the praise for assisting with this presentation and all of what made today possible. Please give them some love. I'm actually pretty tech savvy. Actually, my mother's pretty tech savvy. She's on Facebook all the time. If you go on Facebook, she's responding. It's driving me crazy. One time when she first came on, she put something to me and my sister. She thought it was just to us, but she blasted it to everybody. My sister's here, Janine, don't give me. My mother's on Facebook more than I am. So if you haven't seen my Facebook or Twitter account, I even managed to be the first elected official to tweet throughout an Occupy Wall Street protest, even with handcuffs behind my back. But to be serious, I'm actually proud to be the first elected official to visit and publicly support Occupy Wall Street. Not only did it have a tangible effect on the conversation about resources in this city and this country, there was a tangible effect on the millionaire's tax being passed in New York State. It reminded us all of the power that regular people possess to change their communities. Sometimes people question why I do the things that I do. That is because when it comes to power, there is an imbalance. There are a few that have a lot of money and use that as their pressure point. What we have are ourselves and our bodies, and we have to be willing to use those things to combat the resources that we don't have. So every day I'm going to continue to use my body, my mind, and my mouth to represent the 45th District to the fullest. We have to have some barrier there so that people know they can't just mess with us. This is the power. This is the power that exists right here in the 45th District. It comes from Joseph Robinson, the Jamaican-born hip-hop artist who converted to Orthodox Judaism, bridging 2 communities. It comes from Christopher Rose, a shy 15-year-old boy who loved to play basketball. It comes from Levi Washington, who I was honored to know personally, a community campus police officer at Brooklyn College who made everyone smile. And it comes from Marine Lance Corporal Nicholas White, who served 2 tours of duty in Iraq on behalf of this country. All 4 of these men in their own ways exemplify the heart of this community. All 4 of them were taken from us way too soon. But today we have the opportunity to make sure their spirit stays with us for generations to come. I'm working to rename streets after Joseph Robinson, Christopher Rose, Levi Washington, Marine Lance Corporal Nicholas White. I hope you would join me and sign our petitions that are outside this auditorium on your way out to keep their names and the power that lies within them alive. Alice Walker, the author of The Color Purple, said this about power. The most common way people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any. Think about that. Think about the potential we all possess. We are the ones that built up this great place, and we are the ones that can change it if the status quo needs to be changed, because we are the status quo. It is within us to see every student get a quality education. It is within us to keep housing affordable, even if your last name isn't Trump or Bloomberg. It's within us not to say why this is not happening or why is this happening, but what can I do about it to prevent it? It is within us to take back our streets and embrace every young person who may fall through the cracks. This is a powerful district, and you are powerful people. I'm blessed to be a council member, and together we will continue to do great things for our community and our city. I think it was Marcus Garvey that said, "Look for me in the whirlwind, I'll be there." Thank you, and God bless.